Welcome back, everybody, to Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Chat Network, your first stop for pop culture talk. I'm your host, Nico, and joining with me today, as always, we got Chris here with me. How you doing?
Hey, not too bad. How are you?
Good, good. Looking a little tan over there, Chris. I see like a slight browning going on, or what's going on there with you?
Got a bit of color. I was down in Mexico for a week there, enjoying some Pacifico beers and some sunshine.
Yeah, our allies, Mexico. That's right. Yeah, nice to see you. You made it back all in one piece, and glad you
I
had a
have to
good
make sure
time.
no stopovers in the U.S., though, that's for sure.
Glad you made it all back in one piece and you had a great time there. But it's time
Yeah,
to talk
good
some
time.
comics, Chris. Time to talk comics now. Enough of this vacation. We're here on Comic Shop Talk episode 169. There we go. Look at that number. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And make sure that you guys check out our playlist here, all kinds of different videos. And this week, we're going to be talking about the new comics that came out for the week of March 5th, 2025. And spoiler warning, as always, if you're worried about what's going to happen here in the books, you can always read your books and then come back and check us out another time. And just kind of right on time to put this out right at the end of the week here for new comics. And let's get to it. Let's talk some comics. That's your line. Go ahead.
All right, well, let's get things going here. You might have to carry me. Just got into that red eye.
Cheers.
Cheers. Put a bag of sugar in the fridge when I was done with it today, so
Yeah.
a little loopy.
Oh yeah. All right, let's talk some comics here. All right. First up on and it's another probably smaller week here for us this week, guys. So bear with us. I'm sure we're gonna get slammed twice as hard next week. That's usually how things go around here. First up on the docket here, we got Doctor Strange of Asgard #1. This is a new series, I guess, that's coming in under the One World Under Doom banner there. A new Doctor Strange series where he's in Asgard, as the title basically tells you. What'd you think of this, Chris?
I'm not a big fan of the Doctor Strange comics, but I enjoyed this comic though. But I don't think it was for me. But everything that's going on there, kind of Doctor Strange shows up there. I got a good representation of Thor. I guess he floats the idea of being the Asgardian sorcerer supreme, and I guess Thor says you got to run it by. I guess their high magician or the high skald or whatever they called that lady there. So it was a good story. The language of the story didn't sort of get me as it's gotten me with when other writers have tried to kind of use this tact when they're in Asgard. And there's a bit of a mystery going on here, so it's not too bad.
I do really like Doctor Strange, and I didn't pick this up because I was like, well, I don't know what this series is going to be, if it's a mini series or what it's going to be, basically under the the fact that the title is him being in Asgard and it's during this event. So I wasn't too sure about this one, and the names on the book even weren't like big names for me necessarily. Yeah. I ended up really loving this issue. I'm kind of really disappointed I didn't pick this up as a big Doctor Strange fan. I thought this was a really good change of status quo. As we all know now, he's no longer the Sorcerer Supreme. That did go to Doom. Doom is now utilizing that fact to kind of help his whole new reigning, One World Under Doom type situation, kind of making everybody bow to him essentially at this point in time. Maybe he's using magic, maybe not. It's still kind of being, that story's still kind of unfolding right here, right now. And but I really liked this. I liked how he went to Asgard in this. He's looking for a job. Thor kind of puts in a good word for him, and then he kind of gets to know the people. You get to meet some new characters that he meets while he's in Asgard, and he's trying to figure things out. They agreed to basically give him the job to be the Sorcerer Supreme, seeing over Asgard. Runs into Loki, who was also a previous Sorcerer Supreme at one point during the Doctor Strange series. There was a whole back and forth between those two before. And it looks like, even though he is known as the trickster, it looks like someone pulls a fast one on him at the end of this issue. It makes it seem like he is a murderer, or maybe forced his hand in killing somebody there in front of Doctor Strange. And guess who gets pinned for it? It's Doctor Strange. He's sitting there with the murder weapon with a dead body in front of him at the end there, and it doesn't look so good for a boy Doctor Strange there at the end of this. I don't know, man. One issue in. I'm very interested to see where this goes with this whole mystery and this new status quo of him in Asgard. I quite enjoy this.
I do like how they have Loki included, because when you're reading the comic, they almost make it look like that he's not going to be included, because they're talking about how he's been banished. Right. And other things that like this, how the other Asgardians sort of stick at the Doctor Strange a few times, that he's lost that Sorcerer Supreme mantle. Like, how do you lose that, you dummy? You think you're so smart and you lost that. I think they poked fun at him a few times for that. Thought that was good.
Yeah, this Derek Landy, I don't think I've read too many comics by him, but I thought it was well written, and it kind of got me interested in this right away. And Carlos Magno, the artist on it, he's all right. I mean, I feel like we saw him last on that Captain America Straczynski title. He was drawing that towards the end, which was also in Asgard, if you remember that last arc. He's okay. I mean, some pages look good, other pages not so much. I don't love his style, but I don't mind it either. I think it was good for the story being told here. So I'm in. I'm actually disappointed I didn't pick this up. I'll probably just end up picking up the collection now. And if this is a mini series, I'm fine with that too. I don't think they've announced whether or not it is, but
yeah,
I'm down for the rest of this. I really enjoy it.
That seems to be the trend now. You kind of, launch something and then see how it goes.
See how sales are, and then exactly. What'd you give this?
I got a 3.75. I liked it.
I like this a lot. I'm going to give this on a small week. I got to give this like a 4.25. I really enjoyed this. Big Doctor Strange fan. So next up, we got the Ultimates 10. Yeah, it's like one of the only 2 issues I picked up this week. Ultimates 10.
Well, that was a good one to pick up from what I recall. I guess Captain Rogers or the Captain America, he's kind of leading the team here, and looks like they're going on the offensive. And I forget what they call themselves, that group that are wearing that Punisher symbol. But there's sort of like an outpost of I don't know what you want to call them. I'm going to call them MAGA supporters or something, but something similar to that. And the one thing I don't like is how they're still trying to vilify the stupid Punisher symbol. Come on, give it back to us. I want Punisher back to the MCU and back in the comics as he was.
So I'm
about to be a bad guy.
I'm guessing you haven't seen the new Daredevil.
Oh no.
You know what? We'll see. We'll see. I have hope. I guess slight spoilers at the end of the second episode. They released 2 episodes last week when it premiered. I think an episode today, which I haven't gotten around to. There was a Punisher symbol that appeared. It seems like they're addressing the issue straight on. There was a Punisher symbol that appeared on a corrupt cop on his hand.
Yeah.
So in order to kind of address that head on, I feel like I'm guessing maybe they're going to bring the Punisher in. He's going to say that he's clearly against corrupt cops. And then maybe
maybe it can go from there.
Exactly. So I that's why I said I still have hope, but I agree with you that I don't like how they're politicizing this symbol, this character. And I feel like at this point, in order to bring him back into the fray, they're trying to like address that head on instead of avoiding it, which I'm like, okay, if you can work your way out of that and make something out of it. But you're right. Like, it seems like in every shape and form now, it's showing up as a bad thing, not as a good thing in the sense like, oh shit, it's the Punisher. Watch out. It's more like, oh, look at these guys brandishing the symbol. You know what I mean? So I don't know how I feel about that so much, but I feel like this is the only way out of this fucking situation at this point in time, honestly. And these guys I think, were just known as the Red Skulls or something, weren't they? I think they're just known as the
the Red Skulls.
Were they
kind of almost labeled sort of like there's a Grand Skull or something like that? Like, would it be like the Supreme Skull at the end? I guess they reveal who that is. And there's all this stuff about Namor too. I don't think Namor's dead. I think he's coming back to life somehow once they send him back out to the ocean. But we'll see where that goes.
I was gonna say, you know what? I also thought it was a Punisher thing, Chris. But if you look at it, it is kind of like a red Punisher skull face in a way. Maybe
Yeah,
that's like maybe it's more of a red skull than a Punisher skull.
it does make sense that it's a red skull and but
Right.
that's clearly the Punisher logo. You're not going to mistake that for Red Skull.
It's more so this big juice bag guy that comes in with the skull on his shirt that makes it look like it's like a pun. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
wasn't that the U.S. agent? And
yes.
I think Tony Stark went to him and said, "Hey, you were made for better things." I guess hoping that he'd become a hero with it. And then when he took the power, I guess he was influenced then by some Red Skull propaganda.
Yeah, cause no, it was John. Yeah, John Walker. Yeah, it is John Walker. You know what? Maybe that is what they're going for instead of the. You're right. It looks like a Punisher, but maybe the fact that they're like fascist type people, maybe that is what they're going for is the Red Skull because he was a Nazi, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah,
And then the big reveal at the end of like who the Grand Skull is was a bit shocking to say the least.
that was cool. Yeah, you find out that I mean we're gonna spoil it right here, guys. I think it's worth mentioning. It's Bucky. And there's a whole scene there. Oh yeah, and then they throw Namor's dead body out to sea. It seems like it looks
Yeah,
like
that's going to bring him back to life somehow.
probably. But yeah, you kind of see he's flashing back the moment where he said something to him, like "Nice to see you, Cap" or Steve or whatever he
Yeah.
says to him, right? And yeah, it was good to see you, Steve. He says. And then he's flashing back and thinking about that. And he's like, was that Bucky? Like, and it turns out, I guess it was him, right? So that's kind of interesting. I did like the way it ended. I still really like this series, but I don't know, it's veering into definitely a more political and kind of view at the real world some stuff right now, I feel like, which I'm not liking as much, to be honest. I feel like comics are an escape. And when you're kind of dragging in some more stuff like this into the comic, I don't really love it as much sometimes because, I feel like the writer is using it as a way to comment on other things as opposed to, what's happening in this story,
Well,
right?
the Red Skulls don't put like a 25% tariff on the Ultimates for any goods that are crossing outside their borders. I think we don't, I think we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, that topic is a bit too boring for comics.
Right. Yeah. You imagine an all tariff issue? It's literally just two guys dick measuring the whole issue.
It.
I'm gonna put
Well,
this many tariffs on you. What?
25% tariff. I'm gonna double it on top of your tariffs. Oh, I don't think that
Yeah.
would sell too much.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't mind sometimes when they put some stuff like to if they make it work for the story being told, I don't mind so much, but it's when it's very like ham-fisted and on the nose where I'm just like, okay, like I get it. Like I know what you're commenting on here. I get that you're using this as a parallel between like world life with like real life events to kind of put your politics into your comic. But like if the story suffers as a result, I don't like it. That being said, I still like the Ultimates. I think it's a good book. So
Yeah,
yeah. What'd you give
I
this?
agree with it. It gives me all the Elseworld feels like Dark Knights of Steel and all that.
Yeah.
I give this a 4.
I'll give it 3.75 this week. I did enjoy it though. I liked it. Okay, then I got a few books here I read this week. So here we go. I'll try to get through these at a good pace here. Batgirl number 5. I still really like this book, but I don't feel like the story has changed so much issue to issue. It's basically still her mom. Well, now she's after her mom. Her mom got taken there at the end of the last issue. And now it's basically her going after her mother, trying to save her. But it's a lot of her kind of trying to deal with her mother issues and having some self-reflecting moments and fighting people along the way. And yeah, that's basically the book. I mean, I really enjoy this. I think it's a good character piece on Cassandra Cain, one of my favorite characters in the Bat world. Definitely my favorite Batgirl. So it's interesting to see her having to deal with a lot of this. And there was a lot of scenes in this issue that were also silent, which, you don't really see as much with her. There's a lot of inner monologuing in this book, though. She doesn't really talk all that much, but she definitely has been talking a lot more between this and Birds of Prey these days, as opposed to, in the past. Because she was, a pretty mute character there for a while. But in this, she does talk, and she, you do get to know where her head's at and where she's at with her and her issues with her mom. So I like it, but it's basically, I feel like it's not much new to kind of say in terms of the story moving forward. It's just kind of still chugging along, and I enjoy it. I give this a 3.75 out of 5. I always look forward to it, though, when it comes out every week. Oh, yeah, and then this one, she sees Stephanie, the other Batgirl, in a flashback when she gets knocked out, and she gives her some advice. So that was kind of cool, because Stephanie Brown, it's been a while since I feel like I've seen that Batgirl as well. And her and her mom are not in the greatest of positions by the end of this. I think it's an ongoing, though. I think it's going past the 6 issues. So I'll definitely pick up the collections. Next up, we got Birds of Prey number 19. This basically wraps up this whole Constantine storyline and the storyline with Black Canary going to that cabin, essentially, and getting bombarded. And I keep forgetting this girl's name, the one that's got that plant creature inside of her that's with her.
Is it Sin or something like that, or
Maybe. I always forget her name.
Yeah.
But she's basically been with Black Canary, and they went to this cabin to kind of create a diversion for these guys to come that were after her and be able to take them out. And that's what they end up doing. And then Big Barda and Cassandra there, when they're in this other world trying to help Constantine, they're able to, figure out his whole issue and get him out of there into safety as well. And it was kind of like just a good, fun, quick wrap up of an issue for the current storyline. And I'm glad they didn't spend so much time on this one like they have the previous arcs. And I'm interested to see where this goes. Still not my favorite book, but definitely not my least favorite book. I still think it's an enjoyable book every time I, check it out. But in terms of Kelly Thompson's writing for DC, obviously Absolute Wonder Woman is the book to check out that she's doing right now. We're 19 issues in, and this is just an okay book for me at this point. Like I dropped it a while ago. I don't pick it up physically, so I don't mind talking about it here on the show. But I'm not even sure this is a strong enough Birds of Prey run to be picking up the collection when it comes out, 19 issues in, honestly. But it's not bad. So I'll give this a 3.5 out of 5. And then next up, I got JSA number 5. I've dropped this now. I think this is the first issue that I didn't pick up in issues. And again, not too much to add into this either. This whole first arc has been like, getting the band together type of story with all the different parts, all the new members of the GSA, the younger JSA characters are now that have come into the fold, interacting with the old kind of school JSA characters. And they've all been spread out and kind of dealing with their own issues throughout this first story arc. I think Jeff Lemire is doing a good job. It seems like he keeps bringing in, like he's got like a couple of different artists that have been drawing this first arc, though. They all got similar, somewhat styles, so I can't really tell you that I'm noticing the difference issue to issue. So it hasn't bothered me all too much, but he has no superstar artist either, so to speak. They're all serviceable artists, maybe new artists that he's come across that he wanted to work on this book, but the art is like nothing where I'm just like, oh, you got to check out this book for the art. I wouldn't say that about this book, but it's not bad. It's fine. Yeah, that being said, I think this is going to be one of those books that reads better in trade. I like Jeff Lemire's stuff, but I mean, we're 5 issues in and we're still not any closer to solving any of these characters' issues once they got separated earlier in this arc. So I think it's all still kind of getting worked out and they're all coming together. And I'm interested to see where this book goes, though. I think he has a good handle on it. And a lot of new characters to me as well. This is like deep cut DC. Of course, the classic GSA shows up at the end of this one altogether, though. So I'm really excited for the next issue and see where that goes. I give this a 3.75 out of 5. And then we got Secret Six number 1, a new book out of DC this week. I really like Secret Six as a concept. I really loved Gail Simone's Secret Six run that she did years ago. I got the big omnibus of it. I had the paperbacks, sold those. upgraded to the omnibus, so I'm a big fan of this run. This is terrible, this book.
Nice build up.
I had to hype up the original series of Secret Six by Gail Simone, though. Or not the original, that version, because there's a Secret Six was like a book back in like I feel like the 60s or 70s as well for DC, if I'm not mistaken. But that version of the team, a bunch of villains on a team that she wrote, kind of like a Thunderbolts-esque type of story as well, or a Suicide Squad, I would say, more in line with that. That's what Gail Simone's Secret Six run, I think, in the 2000s was. The first omnibus volume is out now, so you could go pick that up and check that out. I highly, highly recommend that run, everybody out there, if you're interested in learning about this team. This is a weird amalgamation of half heroes, half kind of like villain characters or vigilante characters. You got John, Superman's son here, and his boyfriend as well. They're on this team. And then you got Bizarro, and you got I think Deathstroke's supposed to be on this team. I don't even remember if he was in this issue. Honestly, I can't even remember really what happened in this issue. I just remember reading this and not liking it. And hashtag not my Secret Six, because I don't know what the fuck this team is. It just doesn't have the same vibe that I was looking for from a Secret Six book. Like, I like John as a character. And what's his boyfriend's name again? I forget his name.
Jay something.
Yeah. So he's like he has powers too. I like him. Like, I like that. I like the characters individually in this book. Just the whole fact that they're all working together for whatever reason in this, because of Amanda Waller or because of the fallout of Amanda Waller. I don't know. I can just tell you I was not impressed by this, and I will not be reading any more past this. I think it's been announced as a miniseries, a 6-issue miniseries, if I'm not mistaken. But this did not. This is them definitely trying something out new and not something that I'm not really digging. So that's all I'll say about this one. Not interested. I'll give this, I mean, I almost want to give it less than a 3, but I'll just stick with a 3 because I might just be shitting on this because it's not what I expected it to be, and it's maybe not that bad. But if you were a fan of that Secret Six run from the 2000s, I don't know how you could like this book personally, because it's nothing.
Maybe it's more for the young adult crowd.
I think so. Yeah. And I'm not familiar with the writer. The art was fine, but no thanks. And then you got Usagi Yojimbo 10,000 Plums #1. Not too much to say about this one. I like Usagi. I sometimes read it digitally. I pick up the collections. In this one, there's like these people that are like, I don't know, they're wolves, but they can like morph into. There's all these like monster type of characters that like exist, creatures in his world, Usagi, like old like Japanese folktale type things. I think they're called yokai. There's like a name for it that they call them in this, but I can't recall the name. I might be wrong on that, so don't hold it against me if I am. But basically, they're wolves, but they can also morph into humans and make themselves look like humans. So this woman's trying to feed her wolf child here. And so she appears herself to look like a human and go into town. And this town is known apparently for their healing plums. Like, they have these plums that grow in this region, and they're apparently supposed to be really good for like rejuvenating powers. Like, they have these plums apparently, and they're delicious. So she goes there to like grab some plums from these people, saying like, oh, can you please help me? And these people keep shutting their doors on her, like, get out of here. You're not welcome here. Basically telling her to get the hell out of the town, and that they're not going to help her. And get out of here, you filthy bum, or whatever, right? So they basically slam the door on her. So she's kind of like sickly, and she kind of, she goes back out, morphs back into the wolf, goes back into the woods. She's unable to actually get any food for her child. Then later on in the issue, there's these guys sitting by the fire, and they get one of them, walks off for a moment, and then he yells out, startles the other guy, and you get the feeling that something happened to him. And then you just see the reaction of the other character off panel. Something happens, and then it cuts to a scene of Usagi entering this town. So I don't know if these wolves are now kind of taking it out on these people, or if there's another monster roaming around the town in question. But Usagi, he's a Ronin, so he's just wandering through as he does, in his travels, comes across this town. He's like, oh yeah, I heard about these beautiful, flowers that bloom here this time of year. Let's take a good look at this garden here. And they're talking about the plums and all that. And again, he comes across some people that live in the town. They're like, we don't want you around here. They keep moving. You're not allowed near these gardens or whatever. And they notice a bunch of the trees have been destroyed, like burnt down for whatever reason. And then, of course, as he's passing through, in usual Usagi fashion, they find out who he is. Like, oh, Usagi, I've heard of you or whatever. And he's going to get thrown into whatever this issue is with the town. He's going to help them out. That's kind of how these stories normally go. So, listen, it's familiar. It's a long running series that's fun and enjoyable every time I pick it up and check it out. And you always know what to kind of expect from these stories. That's the good thing they have going for them. I mean, it doesn't really, try to do new things either in that same regard, but it's always really enjoyable. So I give it as a 3.75 out of 5. And then finally, we got Hyde Street number 4. I really enjoyed this issue. This is basically about learning about another guy that's, working for Hyde Street, essentially. And you find out the backstory about this guy from 1949 that was trying to star in motion pictures and try to be part of the movie business. And he gets cast because of how big he is, Chris, like how big of a guy he is as Frankenstein in this movie. Of course, this is at the time of like the Universal monster films, black and white stuff being popular. So he gets cast as this Frankenstein's monster in a movie because of his stature. He's a big hulking dude. And he goes off the rails. He gets makeup put on him, gets it in his head that he's a monster of some sort, ends up taking it out on somebody on the set, freaks out. A light that's on the stage falls and crushes this man and kills him as a result. Maybe because they're on Hyde Street and this is just like his luck that's been befallen to him as a result of him being in this area. I don't know, but
method acting taken too far, it sounds like.
Yeah. Anyways, regardless, he runs away, ends up on Hyde Street, and now is essentially like he's the monster now. Like he has to hold this form and look this way, and he now has to serve Hyde Street. He's been recruited to bring them the 10,000 souls as everybody else has, and he's part in the gang here by the end of this issue. So this is kind of just like a one-off singular story about this guy, and it was really well written. Jeff Johns, again, doing a really good job on all the books I feel like that we've been reading and talking about in this whole Ghost Machine thing. And this is no exception. I think this is a really good issue. And this Hyde Street is really starting to grow on me. I'm liking this series more and more each issue as the story's unfolding. And it's definitely feels like Tales of the Crypt or like an EC horror comic from back in the day, or anything like that. And what's that? Not X-Files. Twilight Zone, something like that. This basically feels like one of any types of those types of stories where they kind of give you like a one-off situation, and it usually doesn't end well for the guy involved in the story, right? So, and there's like a moral lesson of some sort usually attached to it as well. So, yeah, we'll see where this goes. I'm very interested to see. I honestly, I don't. That's a lot of souls that everybody on this Hyde Street has to collect. Like, I don't know how any of these people are going to collect that many souls, honestly. And then you have those like demonic kids that are just obsessed with killing people, right, Chris? Like,
I'm wondering if there's going to be some sort of almost Avengers Endgame type to the end of this, because there is that through line running through the whole series that kind of bind all these people together. As we're in like the Twilight Zone and all that sort of stuff. Those are all just separate individual stories with nothing holding them together. So this has got a bit of glue there at the bottom, and I'm sure he's got something planned to do with that glue. We'll see what he does.
I give this a 4 out of 5 this week. It was really well written. I really enjoyed this story one-off. And yeah, still got a couple more. Sorry, guys. A small week, but smaller for Chris here over me. I read a few. You were on vacation, though, so we'll give you the
That's spotty internet, too, my friend.
Yes, I know. Ultra Mega number 8. One more issue to go on this one. I still can't tell you what the hell's happening in this book. But I love the art. I love the kaiju fighting, but I can't tell you heads or tails what's going on here. So that's my review, and I'm sticking to it. I only got one more issue to go, so I mean, at least I have that going for me. So, but I love the art. I love James Harren. I really like the look of his stuff, but this is just a weird ass kaiju story, and it has been the whole time. And I don't even know if it's going to read better in a collection. This is just one of those things that I feel like is better just taking the flip through, personally. You'll get more enjoyment just looking at the art than the story, honestly. He's not so much of a writer, I would say. I'll give this, I mean, I have to give it, minus points for the story. So I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Yeah, I have to. I mean, I'll give it more just based on the art, but yeah. And then finally, Wolverine 7. Still not great. I read this only because I'm reading number 8, because it's got the Daniel Warren Johnson anniversary backup story. And I guess it's going to be a conclusion of sorts, hopefully, to this whole adamantium story that's been happening since
It's
the first.
still going on. Jeez Louise.
Yeah. So in this, Romulus was revealed at the end of the last issue, a longtime foe of Wolverine. You got X-23 Wolverine there. Laura shows up to help him, and they kind of square off against Romulus in this one. And you learn a little bit more about what's going on. It seems like Romulus is the adamantium prime type of guy. Like, so he's
That's the voice in the metal that's calling to them.
Exactly. So he's not affected the same way. Like, you know how like all the other characters.
Yeah, he's more like the vessel of this adamantine or whatever they call it.
Right. So he can actually still have his thoughts and operate like himself, as opposed to the others that are basically, just being controlled by this substance, essentially. So he's the one that's like leading the charge, and is able to use his abilities to his fullest with this stuff that's happening with them, with the adamantium, essentially the adamantium god or whatever the hell's going on here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, that's all I got to say about it. I'll give this a 3.25. I'm still not very interested in the story being told here, and I'm hoping to see some sort of conclusion next issue, hopefully for this anniversary one. We'll see. Maybe this book still has hope, but I doubt it, because I'm not a big fan of is it Saladin Ahmed that's writing this one? I think that's the writer. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of his writing. So I don't really have much hope for this title going forward. So anyways,
well, whatever story Daniel Warren Johnson's doing in the next one, I hope he's writing it and drawing it too. That'd be sick.
I'm sure he is. He usually does. He writes and draws most of his stuff these days. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is, right. I'm sure he would. Yeah, I'm positive he has to have written that story himself. I'm pretty certain. Right?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be anything to do. It's more just like an all legacy story or whatever, because it's some legacy number that's coming up in Wolverine 8.
Right. So, okay. So next up, we got what's this X crossover again called? What's the
the Manhunt?
Manhunt. Okay. So we're coming to the X-Men block here with the crossover now. Chris, take it away. Uncanny X-Men number 11, the first of those issues.
Well, the only interesting part of this is what this Manhunt's going to be all about. And it looks like it has to do with the Shi'ar Empire. Somebody's attacking them. And I guess the Empress is the last one. There's some good action here with what's that, the Deathbird or whatever? She's kicking some ass in there, and that's some pretty good stuff there. And it seems like Professor X's daughter is in distress, and that's why Professor X decides to break out of that Grey Malkin prison that he's in. And then there's all this other stuff going on with what's happening with the Louisiana X-Men, I guess you want to call them, or wherever they are. And that's just baloney. I don't know what's happening in there. That story lost me a long time ago, and none of this is here to bring me back. Like what their danger room is, it's like the danger field or the danger barn or something, and Rogue kind of just wants or tells Gambit to like basically unload on one of those outliers. I don't know, and everybody's all upset about Rogue about that, and she's, well, if that was a Sentinel, blah blah blah, people don't get a second chance. And yeah, just just not great. But the story of the manhunt
Eh.
did pique my interest, and I guess for that, I guess you'd call it a small success on their part. What do you think?
It was fine. I mean, the thing that really annoyed me the most about this issue you just touched on there was the whole danger room aspect of this. It was this issue, right? Where
Yeah,
they're
yeah, he had
taking
two of them fighting or something, and then
I mean
basically,
it's just a commentary on the current generation. It was just like they're like taking it easy on these kids. And then they're just like, well, no, you got to be a little bit tougher than that. And like you said, then Rogue is like, because that's the whole point of the danger room. They're not supposed to be enjoying doing the danger room. Like it is supposed to show you what could actually happen out in the heat of battle with people. Like what she brings up a good point where she's like, what are they gonna do when they run into this guy or that guy? Like these are people that can kill these kids, right? Like they're not gonna take it easy on them, right? So I understand both lines of thinking, but I also like I don't know. It kind of annoyed me that like we couldn't even have a really good danger room scene. They had to like reference that they're taking it easy on these kids and
and what
like
is this like? It's not even a danger room. It's like they're fighting in a field, aren't they?
yeah, it's not an official danger room.
Yeah, at least the danger room was cool. You know, it's like the holodeck on Star Trek. You know, anything can happen in there. Sometimes they throw a twist. You know, they start the comic thinking something big's going on, then you find it all. It's just a training sequence in the danger room. Here, okay, you know, freaking put away the horse. So we gotta clear the field there, and we're gonna go fight.
Yeah,
But
I just like I don't know. I and this is happening, mind you, in the midst of a crossover. Like I'm just like
yeah,
like what? I don't know. It's fine. I just don't really like the status quo of this team. This team is really not doing it for me. And I don't know. This you have some great characters that are basically just trying to show these kids the ropes, and I don't even know how good of a job that they're doing, honestly. Like I really don't. Like that's kind of what this book has become. It's like these, and Wolverine's on this book. I don't know why Wolverine's in this book. Like it just seems very
yeah.
odd to me. Like he's like, half the time he's running away to do stuff in the Wolverine book, and they're referencing it in this book. And then like the other half of the time he's hanging out with Nightcrawler. like, and they're not even doing anything. They're just hanging out. Like I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know
And
what
what's
this
with
is.
Professor X in that prison? Is it really a prison whenever you decide to go, you can go?
Right.
It's like, you know, the only reason he was really in prison there is because he wanted to be in prison. You know, he wanted to pay his penance or whatever. But then something hits the fan. He's like, well, I got to get out of here. And, you know, it didn't seem to be too difficult for him to leave.
I'm just glad it's not just like us that have been harping on this book. From what I can tell, I've talked to some other people. Like it seems like a lot of people don't like this book. So I don't think these titles, some of these X titles, are long for this world. I think before you know it, we're a year from now, they're going to be rebooting these all again. Honestly,
Oh,
like
for
the
sure.
way it's going, this is like I know it was going to be a hard follow up after the Krakoa era, but this is terrible. Like this isn't even back. This isn't even a back to basics approach. This is I don't know what this is. Like
Yeah.
I think I'm done with this book. This I've stopped buying it now, and I think this is like my last issue like reading it as well because I really just, I don't really like this team. I've decided I'm gonna stick with the Jen McKay book for now. Buying it as well, but this one I'm out. I'm out. What'd you give this?
Yeah. 3.5.
You're being much more kinder than I'm glad it worked for you in the crossover regard. I'll give this a 3 out of 5. I didn't like this all that much. And then speaking of not liking it all that much, we got NYX number 9.
Well, what I could say about the Uncanny X-Men, it did set up a crossover that I was
Yes.
interested in. Maybe not to buy, and I'm glad I'm not buying it after reading this NYX. What a there's no reason for this to even be part of the crossover. Like, if you want to have like a shameless cross promotion, this is what it is for a book that's not doing anything. You know, this might brought a few eyes on it, and you know, if this was a time for this book to shine, it didn't shine at all. Just bad. And then you know, then after reading this, they go, okay, yeah, this manhunt thing is just baloney. I don't even know. I don't even know how they thought this would be good. And I was really unimpressed with this 9-issue crossover event after reading this one.
I think it doesn't bode well when you're 9 issues into some of these series and you're already doing a crossover. Like I think that's more telling than than anything, is that you are trying to link all of these titles together for one last hurrah, almost, it feels like, of a bunch of books that aren't really working right now. Honestly, like I mean, this is a book we already dropped, so I can't tell you if the last few issues have been good or not, because I feel like you tried out the first couple and we were both like, yeah, it's fine, but not for us. And this didn't help. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know this. Again, another book I'm just not interested in what's happening or the characters involved. And I hate to sound like a big hater here, but it's the truth. Like, and yeah, as a crossover issue, it also failed. I felt like
Yeah.
this didn't strengthen the event from one issue to the next, because the problem is these books, because they're all just one issues, they're not abandoning the current kind of characters in these
Yeah, the current
stories.
storyline, they're just kind of trying to shoehorn a Professor X appearance in there.
Right. And it's not working in that sense. I think that it's a poor utilization of not only the events, but even the titles themselves. Like, you should have just went off and did this as a mini series. If that's really what you were trying to accomplish, you should have just did a weekly mini series called X-Men Hunt or whatever, instead of dragging
Nobody
down
would
all
have
these.
wanted them.
Well, I mean, but instead of dragging all these titles into it, like,
Wow, these are titles that nobody's buying. Like, nobody's buying NYX. Might as well freaking put it a
yeah,
crossover event in there. Got to link it up to the other one somehow.
no, you're right. It's like a last ditch effort of
Yeah.
sorts, right? Yeah, I don't know. What'd you give this?
Yeah, this is a 2.5.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say, yeah, this is way worse than Uncanny. So yeah, 2.5. Yeah, that's a low one for us, guys. And then finally, we got Storm #6 here, a series that we've actually really both been enjoying, I feel like. But what'd you think of this?
Well, just beginning for this Storm series, somehow all it seems to be is just crossover uh issues. Like, the One World Under Doom, that was part of this for a couple issues, and it made it work. Like, they had a bit of a story there that was working, and this restored a bit of faith into what's going on. There's some bit that I thought there was a big surprise there where, Storm and Professor X, they're kind of just talking there, and Storm's basically, hey, I'm an Avenger now. Just having you talk to me here, and like the reasons why she explained I can't be really helping you makes a lot of sense. It's like, I've decided to, to join the Avengers, and by doing that, I have to sort of follow their rules here. And if they find out that I'm helping you or aiding you in any way, all that stuff, everything I've been working for is gone. And then, I guess she finds out that there's some, they've been tracking, I guess, Professor X, and they're sending a team in to sort of extract, you're expecting some sort of government agents to walk through. And lo and behold, it's the X-Men coming through. And at the same time, there, Storm and Scott Summers, they kind of have their little chit chat before they kind of start fighting. And Storm, once again, she holds herself very well, when she tells Scott Summers, look, one day people are going to be after you, and you're going to want what I'm doing for him to do to you. And, of course, Scott's like, well, sorry, I'm working for the Grey Malkin prison right now. Are you serious? Like, how do you, like, can they make us want to hate now the main X-Men even more? Like, that's the only thing that freaking killed me, is that the Grey Malkin or whatever that whoever those people are in the Professor X house, they're calling the X-Men after they just had their big battle. These people just tried to destroy your whole building. It's, oh fuck, we need some help. That's the only thing that I didn't get. And the other bad part, well, not bad, but you have Storm fighting the X-Men. That's always great. But we've just seen this in Spider-Man with the Juggernaut Faith, fighting the exact same X-Men. Like, this team has got to get it together when they're just fighting each other the whole time. They're getting their asses kicked each time they're doing it by just single people as well on top of it. So this sort of restored some hope for what's going on in this X-Men Hunt series. I thought it was a good issue on its own, and surprisingly, like, I don't know how Storm keeps on pulling it out, but I was expecting this to be garbage, and I thought it was pretty good.
I agree with you. Not only is this the best issue so far, I feel like, of the crossover, uh, it actually made good use of the relationship between. That's the other thing you just made me realize when you were talking about what happened in this issue. These other people on these teams, the new young characters that they've introduced in these series, they have no history with Professor X. So, like, this title works really well because it's just a focus on Storm with the X-Men passing through, and it's just a focus about her relationship with him passing through, and they have so much history together. And not only that, the writer utilizes the event to not only work for the current storyline of this character, but also to work for the event. They made it work on both in both ways that we need it to work in that regard that the other series haven't been doing. And I think this was a great issue. I agree with you. I think this is still one of my favorite, if not my favorite series of the X books right now. And I don't know how they keep doing it. Storm is not a character I love. I think she's fine. But this is a great series. I've been loving the art. I've been loving the story that they're telling. And I like how they keep it moving at a fast clip. Like they'll have like you said, like they'll drag all kinds of things going on into this book and every story is a singular story. It seems like every issue. Okay, now Storm's going to, go talk to Dr. Voodoo. Oh, the next one, oh, she's going to hook up with Wolverine. And the next one, oh, she's going to visit Doom. And this one, she's like, okay, here's Professor X. I love it. It's really well paced. Honestly, it's a good series. I don't know how they're doing it, but keep it up, please. It's one of the only books that's
I'm waiting for that shoe to drop. It's like when they're going to drop, a stinker and it's going to really smell. But they haven't. I thought this would be the one, but this was okay.
Yeah, it was good. What'd you give this?
I was giving 3.75 though.
Yeah, I almost could get me to a 4 on this one.
Almost.
Yeah, I'll give it 3.75 as well.
But it's like just the storyline with the X-Men, not the battle itself, but just how they're working for that Grey Malkin prison and all that sort of stuff. That just doesn't work for me.
No, I hear you. All right, that's this week of comics, though, guys. And before we get into what our favorite book of the week was, let's take a look at what we are planning on checking out next week there.
Give me a second to load this up.
And the next week will be March 12th, 2025, the books that we'll be looking forward to checking out. Chris will let you know what his list here is in a moment.
I think we got the new Spider-Man coming out next week, so I'm looking forward to that, unfortunately. And I guess he's dead, and I think somehow he gets something to do with the Juggernaut. Let's see, this is March 12th?
Yeah.
Well, we have Ultimate Spider-Man coming out 15. Looking forward to that. So that's some crazy stuff going on there. Amazing Spider-Man 69. I guess we'll see the X-Men 13, a little follow-up to this Storm. I might try and read Iron Man. I don't know. X Factor 8. All New Venom 4. Looking forward to that. Maybe I'll try and read the West Coast Avengers. Hell Hunters 4. I've been enjoying that. And maybe I'll read this Power Man Timeless 2, but I really turned off on that first issue. And let's see what DC got for us. I'll read Absolute Superman. I'm probably if Action Comics ever does show up, I usually don't pull it, but they give it to me anyways. I got DC versus Vampires World War V number 7. See if it's worth the extended series. And try to read Aquaman 3. See what's happening there.
That's been all right. Yeah, that's been okay.
Transformers 18.
Yeah.
That was just came out. Void Rivals. Geiger 12. Looking forward to that. And I guess Void Rival. Yeah, I said Void Rivals. Spawn maybe. Who knows if that's... These Image comics are really having a tough time showing up at my LCS.
Oh, yeah?
That's about it.
Yeah, so ones I'm picking up, I got Amazing Spider-Man 69, DC versus Vampires World War V number 7. The Moon is Following Us number 7, Transformers 18, and then the X-Men books, we got X Factor number 8 and X-Men 13. The conclusion of Babs number 6 comes out next week. Right. So I'll definitely be reading that. That's been great. And it's this the end of this miniseries. He says there's going to be more, so I'm really excited to see more of that. So I think that's been really good. Big surprise. What else we got here? Absolute Superman, I'll check out. Yeah, Aquaman, possibly. These are things I'm reading digitally now. No, that's a facsimile. And Marvel. I don't think there's anything else from Image. No, I don't think so. Oh, Geiger. Yeah, Geiger, I'll check out. That's about it there. Maybe Red Coat if I can catch up. I do want to catch up on that book. Void Rivals. Okay, no, a couple Image books. And then Marvel digitally, if there's anything I'm going to read there.
Yeah, I think Red Coat is supposed to cross over with Geiger because isn't Red Coat? He's like immortal, right? He can't die.
Yeah.
So he would be alive, I guess, during Geiger's time.
Yeah, he should. Yeah. I mean, they've already crossed him over with Junkyard Joe now. He's part of the team. So yeah, I mean, the only other book that he could bring in there, I think that would work. It would be Red Coat. So, Hell Hunters 4 comes out. Definitely looking forward to that. Oh, Nick Fury versus Fin Fang Foom. That's the new team up book there from J. Michael Straczynski. Oh, the conclusion of Namor. That I'm definitely going to check out. And that's it. That's pretty much, I think, all I'm looking forward to next week that we're going to be reading. All right, Chris. I know not a lot to choose from, but what was your favorite book of the week here?
I got to give it to Ultimates. Storm could have been in the running, but yeah, Ultimates, easy pick this week.
I got to go with Doctor Strange of Asgard. I think that was my favorite thing I read this week. That was one of the earliest things I ended up reading this week. And then obviously there was a bunch of filler titles, which I don't normally enjoy. I kind of just read to fill up a list here this week because it was a small week. So, I mean, I feel like it was unfair to some of those. They didn't really have a lot going for them to begin with. But honestly, Doctor Strange of Asgard was a nice surprise this week. I really did enjoy it, and I regret not picking it up physical issues, but I'll definitely pick up the trade if it continues this way. The tie-ins have been not bad so far to this One World Under Doom. So between this and the Thunderbolts, some good stuff. The Doctor
Strange of Asgard, that font they have for the title, it's very misleading. Like, don't they have Asgard sort of written in that Rainbow Bridge type of font?
Yeah.
It can look like it's some disco.
Yeah.
Disco boogie Asgard or Doctor Strange adventure where, it's still, yeah.
Yeah, it does definitely look like weird like that.
Absolutely. Like, especially writing, they should have had the classic sort of Doctor Strange font at least. They can write in Asgard and that wacky stuff, but
that was the thing too. I didn't know what this was. I'm like, why is he in Asgard? Why is this part of
with the new font there? It's got to be disco dancing or something. It'd be Dazzler crossover. Who knows?
But sometimes the tie-in events that just fall under the banner of an event that don't really necessarily have too much to do with the event. Sometimes,
basically the only reason it's under Doom is because he's not on Earth anymore.
Yeah, sometimes those are the best tie-ins though, as a result, right? So whereas the Thunderbolts one, which we talked about last week or whatever that came out, that is a major book in the event because like the events of that last title of Thunderbolts have big, big doings with the current storyline right now. Like the whole reason that he took out the Red Skull was a result of that Thunderbolts book, right? So there's events like that are important, like I would say, to the event. And then there's other ones like this where they're like, we're just gonna Doctor Strange is no longer the Sorcerer Supreme. So let's just tell a fun story with him in Asgard. That's basically what this is. I don't think this is gonna tie back to the event in any way, honestly. Like at least I don't see it in the first issue, right? Yeah. So we'll see. But anyways, other than that, it was good. It was a nice surprise this week. So. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. And thank you to Chris. And we'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
All right. Cheers.